Boom 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 boom.
Welcome, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into some really foundational ideas about storytelling, pulling from Robert McKee's famous book, Story.
That's right. We're zoning in on three big areas he covers. Character, text, meaning the script itself, how it's written, and what he calls the writer's method.
Yeah, and our aim here isn't just to, skim the surface. We really want to get into the nuts and bolts of what creates those moments in stories that just floor you.
Exactly. Like the complexity you feel watching something like Chinatown, or maybe something different, like the sheer emotional journey in The Lion King. Why do those things hit so hard?
Absolutely, because these principles McKee lays out, they're kind of universal, aren't they?
They really are.
Right.
They help you understand why you connect with a character, or how a scene with basically no dialogue can be incredibly powerful.
And all those hidden choices the writer makes that shape everything you end up seeing or reading.
So let's dive in. Character first.
Let's do it. Character.
Okay, so McKee makes this really striking point right off the bat, maybe a bit counterintuitive. He says a character's true identity, like who they really are deep down, isn't shown by the surface stuff. You know, the characterization.
What do you mean by characterization exactly? Like the description?
Yeah, like saying someone's handsome, or an alcoholic, or a lawyer. Those labels.
Well, you sort of tags we put on them.
Precisely. He argues those are just the starting point. The real character, the core of who they are, that only comes out when they make choices under pressure. Real pressure.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's about action, not description.
In a crucial way, yes. Think about Frank Galvin in The Verdict.
Paul Newman, great film. He's a lawyer, right? Kind of down on his luck.
Exactly. That's the characterization. Washed-up lawyer. But his true character, his integrity, his core values, that's revealed in that massive moment of choice he faces in the courtroom.
When he has that huge ethical dilemma.
Yeah. That decision tells you more about Frank Galvin than any description ever could. That's the essence of it.
And why does that work so well? Why is pressure the key?
Well, pressure forces the mask off, doesn't it? It makes you choose. You can't just maintain the facade anymore.
Right. It reveals what you actually value.
Exactly. What you'll sacrifice, what lines you absolutely won't cross, or maybe what betrayals you're capable of when things get really tough. Characterization tells us about them. Choices under pressure show us who they are.
And you see this everywhere, not just in gritty dramas. The source mentioned animation, too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about Bambi. Starts off all innocent, right? That's the initial picture.
Yeah, the little fawn.
But his actual character, his resilience, his ability to step up that gets forged through hardship. Losing his mother, surviving winter, pressure.
Or Simba, another great example from The Lion King.
Perfect one. Starts as this carefree cub, maybe a bit arrogant even.
Totally. Can't wait to be king.
But his real character arc is defined by the pressure points. Mufasa's death, his exile.
His choice to run away.
And then later, the pressure from Nala and Rafiki, leading to his choice to go back and fight Scar. Those choices define who he becomes.
That whole journey, that change triggered by tough times, that's the character arc we talk about.
That's the heart of it. And it links into this idea of active versus passive characters.
Okay, explain that.
Well, an active character drives the story forward with their decisions. Like the later Simba deciding to return and challenge Scar.
He's making things happen.
Exactly. A passive character, maybe like Simba when he first ran away, is more someone things happen to. They react more than act.
And most good stories need a mix, but the main character usually becomes more active.
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Especially in stories about growth or transformation, their true character emerges and they start taking control through their choices. Makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So character is revealed through choices under pressure.
Got it. Now, how does this translate to the page, the text itself?
Yeah.
What about dialogue?
Right, text. This is another area where McKee has some strong, maybe even provocative ideas.
Like what?
He basically says dialogue is often just the tip of the iceberg.
The visible part. Exactly. What's actually spoken can be important, sure. But often the real power, the deep meaning, lies in the subtext.
What's not being said.
Or what's being implied or shown through action, or glances, or silence.
This connects to that idea of writing for the eye and the mind, not just the ear, doesn't it?
Perfectly. Good writing isn't just recording people talking. It's about creating a whole experience.
Any examples jump out?
The source mentions a classic one. That seduction scene in Ingmar Bergman's film The Silence.
Bergman? Okay.
Apparently there's zero dialogue in the whole sequence. None. But the tension, the power dynamics, the unspoken feelings. It's all incredibly intense.
Wow. Communicated just through looks, action.
Looks, actions, the setting, the pauses, pure subtext. It's an amazing example of showing, not telling, pushed to the extreme.
That really drives home the point about dialogue not doing everything.
It does. And it leads to this maybe slightly extreme piece of advice you sometimes hear.
Which is?
That you should write the whole screenplay, all the action lines, the descriptions first.
Right.
And only add the dialogue in last.
Seriously, like leave it completely silent until the end.
Well, maybe it's more of a thought experiment than a strict rule for everyone. But the principle is powerful.
What's the principle then?
That the visual storytelling, the what happens and where it happens, should carry the scene fundamentally. The dialogue adds layers, nuance, maybe irony, but the core should work visually.
So the goal isn't just to report the facts, but to make the reader or viewer feel the scene, imagine the world.
Yes, exactly that. Conjure the world, the mood, the unspoken stuff, right there in their imagination.
How do you do that with just words on a page, though?
McKee talks about using concise, impactful description. Think of it like using a wide-shot approach in your writing, but not literally about camera angles. Meaning using short, evocative bits of description. Paragraphs, or even just sentences that paint a strong picture of feeling quickly.
Give the essence, but leave some space.
Right. Guide the imagination, don't dictate every single detail. Like those descriptions in the original Alien script.
Oh yeah, what about them?
They're apparently very lean, but they just ooze claustrophobia and dread. You feel those corridors.
Less is more, kind of.
Exactly. Or think about the beginning of Pixar's Up.
Oh wow, yeah, the montage.
That whole sequence tells an entire life story, love, loss, companionship, almost entirely without dialogue. Just visuals, music, perfectly chosen moments.
It's devastatingly effective.
It's a masterclass in less but essential, or less but powerful. Economy that creates huge impact.
Okay, so we've got character revealed by choice and text that relies heavily on subtext and visuals.
Yeah.
What about the person actually doing the writing? The writer's method.
Yeah, how do you actually do all this?
Yeah.
McKee sees the whole creative process, especially writing, as fundamentally an art of selection.
Selection, like choosing.
Choosing everything. What scenes to include, what details to focus on, what words a character uses, what they don't say, and crucially, what to leave out.
Every choice matters. Sounds daunting.
It is.
Yeah.
And it leads to the challenge of avoiding the obvious, the cliche.
The dreaded cliche.
Yeah.
How does he suggest tackling that?
He has a very practical, if demanding, technique. Basically, don't trust your first idea.
Don't trust it. Why not?
Because your first idea, especially for a common situation, is very likely to be a cliche or something close to it. It's the path of least resistance.
So what do you do instead?
You force yourself to generate alternatives. Lots of them. He suggests aiming for at least 5, maybe even 10, different ways a character could react, or a plot point could unfold, or a line could be phrased.
5 to 10 options for everything. That sounds exhausting.
He admits it sounds tiring, and it is hard work,
Yeah.
no question. But he calls it the necessary price you pay for originality.
The cost of being fresh.
Yeah. It's about discipline, not just waiting for some magical inspiration to strike. It's work.
This reminds me of that fable he uses, the centipede.
Ah, yes. The centipede fable. It fits perfectly here.
How does it go again?
So a centipede is walking along just fine, using all its 100 legs without thinking. Then someone asks, wow, how do you coordinate all those legs?
And suddenly it can't walk.
Exactly. It starts thinking about which leg goes when, gets all tangled up, and stumbles. It can only walk again when it stops relying on pure instinct and starts consciously thinking through the process, step by step.
Ah, I see the connection. Writing might start with an instinct, an idea.
But to actually make it work, to build something complex and original, you need craftsmanship, you need patience,
Yeah.
you need to make deliberate, conscious choices.
It's not just raw talent, it's skill and effort.
A lot of skill and effort. It demystifies it a bit, takes away the muse idea, and replaces it with dedicated craft.
And part of that craft the sources mention is research, right?
Absolutely critical. You have to deeply understand the world your story inhabits, even if it's a completely made-up fantasy world.
Why is that so important?
Because research provides the texture, the details, the rules of that world. It fuels originality because it gives you stuff you'd never just invent out of thin air.
Makes the world feel real, grounded.
And it allows your characters' choices within that world to feel meaningful, to have real stakes and consequences. You need that foundation.
Okay, so craft, discipline, research. But there's something else too, isn't there? Something more fundamental McKee emphasizes.
Yes, and it's possibly the most important point of all. He states it very clearly. You cannot write what you don't believe in.
Write what you believe in, meaning?
Meaning sincerity is paramount. All the technique, all the cleverness with subtext, all the discipline choices, none of it matters if the story doesn't come from a place of genuine conviction for the writer.
So technique serves the belief, it doesn't replace it.
Beautifully put. Technique can amplify sincerity, make it more effective, but it can't fake it. The audience can usually tell.
That's a really powerful concluding thought on the method. So if we wrap up the key takeaways from these McKee excerpts.
Okay, first, character. It truly shines through, is truly revealed by the choices made under significant pressure. Forget just the surface labels.
Right. Second, text. Its power often lies beneath the surface. In the subtext, the silences, the visual storytelling, maybe even more than the actual dialogue.
Yeah. And third, the writer's method. It's an art of selection, demanding discipline, hard work, tons of choices, research.
And avoiding those easy first ideas, generating alternatives.
Definitely. All built on that essential foundation of writing something you genuinely believe in. Sincerity first.
And these ideas, they apply across the board, don't they? From complex thrillers to beloved kids' animations, it's the underlying structure.
It really seems to be the DNA of stories that stick with us, that feel resonant and true.
So let's leave you, the listener, with something to mull over, building on that last point about sincerity.
Yeah, McKee really pushes back against just chasing trends or trying to manufacture something unique without real belief behind it.
Which raises a really interesting question for all of us, whether we're creating stories or just experiencing them.
How do you navigate that? When you're interpreting a story or trying to express your own ideas, how do you find that balance?
The balance between using the craft, the techniques, understanding subtext, character arcs, the power of selection, and staying true to your own genuine voice, your own belief.
That tension between technique and truth, between skill and sincerity, how do you manage that in your own engagement with stories?
It's a fascinating struggle and maybe something worth reflecting on.
Boom, 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 boom.